ladies and gentlemen, the fall 2024 anime season is fast approaching. In less than 3 weeks, we will have once again over 60 anime titles all just being thrown in our faces. While a very heavy season for returners, we also have a bundle of exciting new titles to come. The fall season includes everything from gushing over magical girls without the lewds, a slime girl wet my bed, banana, the return of the Subaru hate threads. Who will get added to Belle's harem this time? You got something on your face. Hot Ninja Maid. Return of the OG gender swap Disney version. Thighs. Yes, just thighs. More Yokotaro torture. Interview with yokai girls. Another shrine maiden harem. Not that I'm complaining. The adaptation that is triggering Twitter. Flat Earthers, the anime. I adopted a replacement sister only to fall in love with her. More edgy edge boy edgeness. Shogunate, Arslan Senki. My dead-end job as a magical girl is ran by a pervert. And Beastars might actually finally return. I'll believe it when I see it. Now, since 99% of anime fans can't even watch all these shows, I'm here to give my top 10 most excited returners and new series to help you out. So sit back, get your notepad ready, and let's dive right in. So let's start things off with the returners first in no particular order. Yes, Rezero Season 3, massive amounts of hypes from me. Now, yes, we had a little bit of a hang-up by the, yes, unfortunate leaks that were going out, but I stay clear of them. I want to stay as pure as possible coming into this season, and I am super hyped for it. Yes, being a Subaru apologist, I can't wait for it. And it couldn't come sooner because, yes, I'm still reeling over the fact that we have a wait for more Mushoku Tensei. The PVs look super hype, I'm super excited to see what's coming up, and I cannot wait. Bleach 1000 Year Blood Wars is coming back, of course. Now, I kind of feel like I'm falling off on this series, but I'm still excited for it. It still goes down as one of my favorite long-running epics. Danmachi Season 5 is coming. I loved Season 4. I think they did a fantastic job. It was a nice return of the series, great storytelling, having the creator on board with it. He was doing a fantastic job of keeping them on track. But I will admit, the trailers for Season 5 don't look particularly exciting, but we'll see. Maybe it'll surprise me. I'm always pumped for more Danmachi, so I'm super looking forward to it. Sword Art Online Alternative Gun Gale Online Season 2. Yes, many people are probably wondering why the hell is this on Andrew's list. Yes, I wasn't too favorable of Season 1, but there was a lot in there that I actually liked. I think it's fun whenever it tries to be fun. I just kind of fell off on the series towards the later part of the first season because it got too heavy on the drama. It just didn't fit it. But whenever the series is trying to have fun, that's where it does really good. So I'm hoping going into Season 2, we get more of the fun and less of the melodrama. Dragon Ball Daima's coming, yes, of course. That series I'm super pumped for. I'm a massive old-time fan of Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball in general, so I'm really happy to see that coming around. Yes, of course, this is marking 7 months after the unfortunate passing of Akira Toriyama, and this is something that he was working on up into his passing. So hopefully his heart is still in this project, and this is pretty much going to be his swan song, so to speak. So I'm really looking forward to it. Rest his soul. He's such a fantastic creator, and I hope that his passion's in here. Now, if you had to ask me what my most anticipated of the entire fall season overall of everything, number one would be Natsume's Book of Friends. Yes, Natsume Yojinsho Shishi is here, and I am super pumped for it. It's kind of one of those series where every now and then I get reminded, oh yeah, this is coming in fall. Oh my gosh, I cannot wait. Natsume's Book of Friends is easily one of my favorite franchises of all time. Every single season of it that comes out, I absolutely love it, and I cannot wait for this comeback. It's just, there's so much like heart-wrenching, emotional, fun moments throughout the series that I just can't wait for it to come back. Kamiarabe God App, yes, it's a weird show. It's Yoko Taro. The first season had its ups and downs, but overall, I enjoyed it. It's just super weird and super cringe at times, and I can't wait to see where Yoko Taro goes next. Beastars, the final season, like I said, it's supposed to come out in December. We'll see. They said it was coming out in 2024. They chose to have it in the last month of the year. It makes me kind of worried about it. But yes, I've been eagerly anticipating the return of Beastars, its final season. Apparently it's going to be 2 parts, so I hope it comes, but I won't believe it until it actually happens, so we'll see. I'm pretty excited for Operetta From Commonplace to World's Strongest Season 3. I didn't like so much the OVAs and whatnot, but I did enjoy the first and second season. It's not like my most crazy, I can't wait for it series, but I have enjoyed it somewhat, so we'll see if it keeps up its momentum. And finally, my last one in my 10 list is Ranma 1/2 2024 version. Yes, despite the fact that it's probably going to have the same treatment as Urusei Yatsura, it's probably going to be very censored. At least from the trailers that I'm seeing, it looks like it's going to do a little bit of a, rather than showing things, it'll at least kind of borderline it and have that ecchi sort of just be there at the borderline, which that actually works out for me. So I don't really necessarily need to show everything. So as long as it kind of gets a little bit on that borderline, I'll probably still enjoy it. Ranma 1/2 actually, compared to Urusei Yatsura, has a lot more storytelling and characters in it, so I think that that's going to still work out in the end to be an enjoyable series, and it looks like MAPPA is doing an incredible job with the animation so far, so we'll see how it goes. For my honorable mentions for the returners, I'm still excited to see Hananako-kun come back, Oitombo having a second season, which is great as well. Still have to get caught up on Love Live Superstar, which I'm excited to see that coming back as well for its third season. I think it's the first one to have a third season. Demon Lord Retry, I loved the first season of that, but apparently this is supposed to adapt like a sequel of what's not been adapted, so I'm not really sure what's going on with that series, but we'll see. Shangri-La Frontier is coming back for its second season, which I kind of enjoy that series, and yes, Spirit Chronicles is coming back. We'll see where that goes. But with the returners out of the way, let's jump into the new stuff. Let's jump into my top 10 most exciting new shows coming in the fall 2024 anime season, starting again from the very bottom and building up in the anticipation. For my number 10, I have Let This Grieving Soul Retire. It's the golden age for treasure hunters, adventurers hungry for wealth, fame, power, and glory, who risk their lives in treasure vaults throughout the world. Let's become adventurers. Cry and his childhood friends swore to become the greatest of them all, but that dream should have died the day Cry realized he wasn't cut out for the job. Yet expectations continue to mount, right along with Cry's fear for his life. While his childhood friends climb closer towards their dreams, this grieving soul has one simple wish: to pack it all up and retire. This is an adaptation of a light novel series being done by Zero G. Based on the PVs, it doesn't look like the most incredibly animated series, but at least has a nice colorful cast. But the thing that kind of jumps out at me besides the thighs besides those thighs, yes, the thing that kind of jumps out at me is just the personality of the main character. Now, this is one of those things that for me personally can either hit or massively miss. It's the concept of the guy that is just trying to fake it to make it. The guy that just doesn't want to get involved with things, but then whenever he gets involved with it, he has to fake it and make it seem like he's pulling something off. And again, sometimes that can work really, really well. So I'm hoping this one pulls it off, but that kind of uncertainty that I have is what's really keeping it down here at 10. For my number 9, this is a late one to put on my list, and I just kind of had to have it in my list. And that's Puniru wa Kawaii Slime. The slime created by the boy, Kotoro, can transform into a super beautiful girl. Kotoro is being constantly pushed around by Puniru's freewheeling antics. It's a joyful and exciting life every day. This is based on a manga being adapted by Toho Animation Studio. And again, like I mentioned before, this wasn't really in my list until somebody, a friend of mine, you know who you are, threw this at me and said, my gosh, you're missing this on your list. And I looked at it and I thought to myself, yeah, I was looking at this, but I was kind of mixed on it because it's one of those series where based on the PV, it kind of gives me a feeling like this is something that can get repetitive. But based on some other PVs they've released, it does look like they're going to mix it up quite a bit. The concept of the slime turning into a beautiful girl actually turns into different types of beautiful girls. So it might have a lot here to kind of mix things up and keep it fresh. But the main thing that stood out to me the most, and what eventually made me add it to my list, is the fact that I'm getting such a massive vibe of the jungle was peaceful, but then came goo. For those that have seen that series, it's a series from way back in 2001. It just has sort of a similar formula as this concept of this really weird and alien girl that's just bugging the hell out of the main boy. And hopefully if it has that same kind of flavor, it'll work out in the end. So I'm excited for it. Moving on to my number 8 most anticipated new show of the fall season is Orb on the Movements of the Earth. The setting is 15th century Poland. It was a time when heretical ideas led to those who possessed such a mindset to being burned at the stake for their beliefs. The protagonist Rafał, a childhood prodigy, is expected to major in theology, the most important subject at the time, at the university where he plans to skip a grade. One day, however, he comes across a mysterious man and is now studying a possible truth in the midst of heretical thought. Now, this is a manga that is being adapted by, yes, Madhouse, and that is definitely showing in the PV itself. It looks incredible. It's got some fantastic music, the voice acting looks fantastic, just the directing and the style and the aesthetic of it looks really, really good. I'm getting sort of and it's nowhere near to the levels of it, but I'm getting sort of a feeling of something like Vinland Saga, which I think will really work well for this, because this is kind of one of those series where Unless they really nail the storytelling and really have something to constantly be gripping the viewer, I can see this being a series that can be really, really boring. Because yes, the concept here is just kind of advancing what we know, and the ideas and the concepts of the stars and the movement of the Earth itself. Which, yes, at the time was seen as something where you're essentially a witch or something. You're being burnt at the stake just for trying to advance science and knowledge itself. I have like this cautious hope for it. It's one of those series where I feel like if they can really nail it, it could possibly end up being one of those kind of anime that you talk about for years to come. Moving on to my number 7, I have Trillion Game. Old schoolmates Haru and Gaku will do anything to achieve success, and success to them means earning $1 trillion. That's pretty easy. But to do so, they'll need to take full advantage of their own unique skills. Haru is a persuasive and confident speaker who can connect to anyone, while Gaku, although awkward, is an expert programmer. Will their combined talents be enough to make their dreams a reality? Again, another Madhouse show, so while it does look really good, it does look pretty stiff in the animation department, but I'm hoping that that won't matter for this series because it does have a lot of unique characters. I'm not a huge fan of the style itself, but yes, the one thing that is really pulling me in for this show, Rishiro Inagaki. Yes, the creator of Dr. Stone, or at least the writer of Dr. Stone. This is definitely a writer that has a lot of experience in characters trying to do the impossible. And so I'm really hoping that'll actually translate into what seems like a more modern setting, business-like type setting. This idea of these two individuals just doing anything and everything business-wise, whatever trick they can, in order to make a lot of money. And yes, whatever kind of threats that come their way due to the fact that they're dealing with a lot of money. It's got everything kind of lined up for it to be a really incredible series, and I cannot wait to see what else this writer has to tell. Moving on to my number 6, we have a series that I have been waiting for quite a long time. And yes, that is the adaptation of Junji Ito's Uzumaki. Now, Uzumaki is a series that I have yet to read yet, even though I do have it, but I absolutely love Junji Ito's work. But unfortunately, as most know, most of Junji Ito's works get pretty butchered when it comes to anime adaptations. They're typically barely even moving, or just the adaptation itself doesn't really adapt some of the more interesting stories that he actually has. Junji Ito is a twisted mind. This guy, I don't know, he needs help. He's really great at unsettling natures of things. His horror most of the time is not jump scares, it's just unsettling that continues to build up. And I really do hope that Uzumaki Spiral into Horror ends up being one of the first ones that they adapt really, really well. I mean, Gyo was decent, but they didn't adapt like the best part of Gyo. We have Studio Drive working on it, and yes, based on the PV, it looks CGI. Now, what they're doing with that CGI, they have a cel-shaded filter to it to make that kind of black and white unsettling nature of his art style really come to life. So while I'm hesitant because you can see that CGI feel to it with the characters turning and whatnot, it does seem like a lot of the shots where things get really weird and twisted, it is fully hand-drawn 2D. And so if they can at least pull off that twisted nature, pun intended, it could really turn out to be something absolutely fantastic. Again, the PV, despite that CGI feel in there, looks really, really good. So I have hope. I'm going to keep hope that this turns out to be one of his better adaptations, and it just absolutely nails the story. Well, the one positive thing I can say is that the director that's going to be working on this worked on Mushishi, which was actually really, really incredible. But they also worked on Flowers of Evil, and there is a lot of points throughout the trailer that does actually look like rotoscoping. So hopefully it's not too much rotoscope feel, or maybe they're doing a combination of rotoscope and CGI. I don't know. We'll see. I just have a lot of hope because I just love Junji Ito's work. Moving on to my number 5. Yes, we have Gushing Over Magical Girls is coming back. Yes, Gushing Over Magical Girls is returning. Not really. Don't get your hopes up. I'm sorry. I apologize. But no, Acro Trip is coming. Chizuko, who lives in Sakai City, is an otaku girl who's a big fan of the magical girl Berry Blossom, who protects the city against the evil organization Fossa Magna. However, nobody was worried about the battle of the two anymore because Chroma, the wicked evil villain, was too lazy and weak. So Chizuko decided, I want to make my magical girl shine more. That desire leads her down a strange, evil path. Like I joked about before, but it's actually true. Watching the PVs of this series just gives me Gushing Over Magical Girl vibes. It's the concept of the girl who's obsessed with that magical girl, and at some point they end up joining the villain. Yes, at some point she's trying to make this villain do a better job because everybody's bored of their battles. This magical girl isn't achieving anything when the evil villain can't achieve anything. So it's really her kind of joining the bad guys just to give the magical girl some sort of competition. That way, yes, the magical girl looks great. So it's so funny to see her as the villain even though she's fighting against this girl that she loves so much. So I'm really looking forward to it. The PVs look really goofy, and hopefully it turns out to be a solid series. For my number 4, we have Blue Box. Taiki Inamata loves badminton, but he has a long way to go before he can reach nationals. When Taiki sees upperclassman Chinatsu Kano practicing her heart out on the girls' basketball team, he falls for her hard. After an unexpected turn of events brings the two of them closer together, sports might not be the first thing on their minds anymore. Both sports players eventually getting doki doki for each other. A very simple synopsis, but I have heard nothing but good things about Blue Box the manga. So if the adaptation itself can pull off and adapt what everybody seems to be so loving about for this series, I'm sure this is going to turn out to be an absolutely fantastic romance slice of life. And yes, technically based on the PV, what I'm seeing already, at least visually, the show looks absolutely fantastic. So I'm looking forward to it. It's definitely one of those series that I've been anticipating for a long time now, so we'll wait and see. For my number 3, we have something that's coming completely out of left field, and that is Negative Positive Angler. The anime story centers on Tsunehiro Sasaki, a university student with a large debt, and is told by his doctor that he only has 2 years left to live. Living the rest of his days in depression, Tsunehiro one day gets chased by a debt collector and falls into the sea. He's rescued by Hana, a girl who loves fishing, and her fishing friends including Takaki. Hana urges Tsunehiro to experience fishing for the first time in his life, and he starts to develop a friendship with the other fishing enthusiasts. Things start to look up for Tsunehiro as he starts working at a convenience store where Hana and Takaki work, and he slowly gets hooked into fishing. This is an original drama that is being done by Studio Nut. We have the writer that's working on it has worked with Aka 13, One Punch Man, and Tiger and Bunny. And we also have the director that worked on Saga Tanya the Evil as well as Punchline. So there's at least a decent pedigree working on this project as an original project. Usually whenever I see original projects, I get pretty excited for them. I just love these series where there's no source material to go based on and you're just going into it completely blind. But I will say this is definitely a series that the moment I watched the PV, I just kind of became sold on it. The concept here of somebody who just doesn't have much time to live for, and not only the fact that he doesn't have but 2 years left to live, but additionally having all these debt collectors coming down upon him, just making the last few days of his life just absolutely miserable, looks so refreshingly contrast to kind of this fun experience that he's having with these people just doing fishing. It's somebody kind of just starting over. That's the concept here. Is at the very end of the trailer, it just talks about the concept of starting over, despite the fact that he doesn't have much time to live, while also accepting the fact that everybody has a finite time to live. It's just kind of living in the now and enjoying the time that you actually have. And I'm really hoping that the storytelling they have for it just turns out to be fantastic. I'm definitely looking forward to it. Moving on to my number 2. Yes, we all knew this was going to be in the list somewhere. Somewhere in this list, this had to be in here. It's probably easily the most anticipated show of the fall 2024 anime season for so many people, if you're not including returners. Dan Dan Dan. Yes. That series is coming out. This is a story of Momo, a high school girl who comes from a family of spirit mediums, and her classmate, Okarun, an occultic fan. After Momo rescues Okarun from being bullied, they begin talking. However, an argument ensues between them, since Momo believes in ghosts, but denies aliens exist, and Okarun believes in aliens, but denies that ghosts exist. To prove to each other what they believe in is real, Momo goes to an abandoned hospital where a UFO has been spotted, and Okaran goes into a tunnel rumored to be haunted. To their surprise, they each encounter overwhelming paranormal activities that transcend comprehension. Amid these predicaments, Momo awakens her hidden power, and Okaran gains the power of a curse to overcome these new dangers. Their fateful love begins as well. Now, this is a series that when I heard about the adaptation, I was kind of curious about it, so I jumped into the first couple chapters, and yes, this show, the story itself is absolutely bonkers. It's got a hint of raunchiness to it. It doesn't really hold much back. And based on what I've seen so far of the new series coming out, it looks like they're not going to hold too much back with the actual adaptation. And that has me really excited. A series that just gets absolutely bonkers for the sake of bonkers, and again, has no filters. And a lot of my hope for this series, the fact that Science Saru is working on it, and they're not really known for holding much back and being really, really creative with their designs and their style. While I can't really claim that I always particularly like their style, they always pull something very unique off, and I'm really hoping that really does come across in this adaptation. Again, don't take my word for it. It's easily one of the most anticipated shows of the season coming up, and I'm just really it's unfortunate that it had that whole leak kind of take a lot of the steam out. And that all comes down to my number 1 most anticipated show of the fall 2024 anime season coming up, and yes, that is If My Wife Became an Elementary School Student. Now hold on, stick with me here. There's a reason for this. The trials and tribulations of a single father who one day meets the reincarnation of his deceased wife. That's the synopsis. You know what? That's a good synopsis. Let's just go with that synopsis. It's actually a really good synopsis. But no, the reason why I'm so excited for this show is that yes, I watched the PV and I thought it was cute. And yes, having Aoyuki voicing the returning wife was fantastic. Aoyuki does an incredible job, and I think she fits this little girl so perfectly. Now, yes, when the trailer was released for this series, it really took until the trailer was released. Suddenly, out of nowhere, social media just was outraged. Oh my gosh, what a horrible idea to adapt this. Why are they adapting this story about this guy going out with an elementary school student? That's not what this story is about. And I found that out because, yes, upon hearing the outcry, I went and read the manga quite a bit. I would probably say I've read up to probably what's going to be episode 4 or so. And yes, this story is absolutely incredible. This isn't a story about some guy falling in love with an elementary school student. It's not. It's about a family that lost a mother and how much that destroyed the family, how much heartbreak went for this family, and how they never really recovered from it. And then at some point, this girl showing up at their doorstep and saying they're their mother, and everything about their past kind of getting dredged up. But additionally, the story of this girl that shows up, I think, is actually one of the most heartbreaking stories that I came across. The moment that it really started hitting with her story, I was sold. I was like, this is it. This is going to probably turn out to be my favorite show of the fall season. I think it's so incredibly well done, and I really can't wait for it. If you're afraid of it because it kind of gives that feeling of an older guy with some girl, don't. It's not that. That's not the story here. It even makes fun of that and talks about that taboo. It's not that story. It's really incredible, and I cannot wait for it. And that's it. That's my top 10 most anticipated new shows of the season. For honorable mentions, I have the Magical Girl Inc. I think that looks really, really fun. It's just a massive question mark based on the quality of the actual show itself and the PV. Story of a girl who's unable to become a mage. The PV looks gorgeous. Fantastic art design and everything, but it's also one of those shows where I think it's just going to be a fluffy, feel-good show. Nina and the Starry Bride looks pretty decent as well. You Are a Miss Servant looks like it could be fun. We'll see. Demon Lord 2099, I've really not seen too much from the PVs themselves, so I'm just really up in the air with it. If it does pull off what it's doing, which is a futuristic Demon Lord, it could be really fun. And finally, tying the knot with the Yagamagi sisters. Yeah, I gotta have a nice harem show, even though it's the typical Shrine Maidens, marry one of them type of show. Hopefully it's decent. The main character kind of looks like a jerk, though, so I'm not sure if I'm gonna enjoy it. And that's it. That's all I'm gonna cover with this most anticipated series coming up. If you want a full breakdown of all the shows of the fall 2024 anime season, I will be doing a podcast with my brother. Otaku Spirit Anime Cast will be probably recording that on Monday, probably have it posted by Tuesday of next week. So if you want a full breakdown of every single show, synopsis, who's working on it, all that kind of stuff, stay tuned for that. But I hope you guys enjoyed this list. If you did, make sure to hit that like button down below before you leave. Leave me a comment. Let me know what's the most anticipated shows for you for the fall 2024 anime season. Additionally, if you're new here, do me a favor and subscribe to the channel so you can get all my content. I'll be doing first impressions of all the shows of the fall 2024 season when it comes around. So definitely stay tuned if you want to get an idea of what the show is and if I'm liking it or what to expect in the show itself. Finally, if you like this content and you want to support this channel more, I have links in the description below. I greatly appreciate everybody that supports the channel. And until next time, y'all take care.